Mr. Speaker, I'm taking this call to talk about a pressing issue in our tertiary education system, particularly our universities. Mr. Speaker, when students go through our universities, what we expect? We expect is that students will be able to think independently, that they will be able to think critically, and they will have an innovative mindset so that they can go out and solve the problems of this ever-evolving world. But, Mr. Speaker, this confidence and this trust that we have in our universities is recently becoming a bit shaky. Mr. Speaker, we have seen Times Higher Education World University Rankings released recently, and none of the universities, our universities, have risen in their rankings. We have seen some universities have dropped in their rankings, so overall we can say that we have experienced a drop. Mr. Speaker, if I just pick one university, our top university, University of Auckland is no longer in top 150 universities. It's quite disappointing, Mr. Speaker, to see that we don't have any universities in top 150, and that University of Auckland is no longer in top 150. Mr. Speaker, what is more concerning is that because of the direction some of the universities are taking, the rankings might suffer even more. And, Mr. Speaker, I can talk about many issues, but I'll pick one example. University of Auckland, Mr. Speaker, has announced that they are going to introduce a compulsory course to teach Treaty of Waitangi and Maori World View. This is a compulsory course worth 15 points for all undergraduate degrees. For all undergraduate degrees, Mr. Speaker, I ask, why is this course needed for all undergraduate degrees, and why is it needed that this course should be compulsory? Mr. Speaker, this is going to create a lot of suffering for students, because at the end of the day, students are going to suffer, and in the long run, our country is going to suffer. Mr. Speaker, yes, I'm going to explain that, Mr. Speaker, because this course is all students will have to study. If somebody wants to study science, for example, somebody wants to do a BSc, that student is wanting to do BSc because that student is really passionate about science. Now, this course is going to be enforced on that student. So if the student doesn't like this course, of course, the grades won't be what overall we would like to see, and the overall grades of that student will suffer. And moreover, Mr. Speaker, we know that for any degree program, there are some compulsory components that students have to do. For BSc, there has to be some compulsory science components to be completed so that they can achieve a BSc degree, which is equivalent to BScs around the world, Mr. Speaker, around the world with the universities where we compare ourselves with. So, Mr. Speaker, now because of this space that is going to be created for this compulsory Treaty of Waitangi and Maori Worldview course, other components will be pushed on to the rest of the time that is left for that degree. And that is going to create more pressure on students. So, Mr. Speaker, who is going to suffer? Students. And in the long run, Mr. Speaker, our country is going to suffer. Mr. Speaker, going back to our international rankings, yes, Mr. Speaker, members out there might want to dismiss our lowering international rankings, but Mr. Speaker, I say this, that it's really important that we improve our international rankings. One thing, Mr. Speaker, which is to be noted is that all universities, all our universities have dropped in one area, that is the international outlook. So universities, our universities have lost credibility in international outlook. Mr. Speaker, I know that I have done 2 degrees overseas. I did my BSc and MSc from India. I did my PhD from the University of Auckland. I have seen how tertiary education system works in 2 very different parts of the world. And Mr. Speaker, when students are looking around to study, Mr. Speaker, they do look at international rankings. Top students are definitely, Mr. Speaker, looking at international rankings when they apply to study at any university around the world. And also, Mr. Speaker, the academics. If we want to attract brilliant people to come and teach and to do research in our universities, Mr. Speaker, we have to improve our ranking, because these people, when they're looking for a change, they definitely look for, Mr. Speaker, university rankings. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm calling on University of Auckland to be inclusive and be forward-looking in their approach. And, Mr. Speaker, I would like to see that they create the environment where all perspectives are respected, not just one-sided view is enforced on students. And, Mr. Speaker, I'm calling on University of Auckland to pause, to rethink, and drop this paper that they want to introduce from next year, because students deserve choice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.